Hello, it's Who Time, and today we're pitting Series 11 of the revived era, not Season 11, Pertwee's last season, against Season 24 of the classic era. I thought it would be good to compare and contrast these two seasons of our favourite daft, long-running sci-fi show. Why, I hear you ask? What's the link? They're decades apart, they've got different doctors, different companions, obviously different production teams. Why these two? Well, for me, these two seasons are the weakest to ever grace our screens. I think they share a lot of similarities in terms of their approach to the show, and also they share a lot of the same prevalent issues that hold these seasons back. So before we get into it, make sure to grab your coffee or your tea, and then I'll see you after the titles. First, let's give a basic overview of both seasons before we get into the nitty-gritty. Season 24 was broadcast in 1987 and is Sylvester McCoy's first season as the 7th Doctor, the first Scotsman to lead the show. Mel, played by Bonnie Langford, is his companion. There are 4 stories in this season, made up of 14 episodes, and include the delights of Time in the Rani, Paradise Towers, Delta and the Bannermen and Dragonfire. In the other corner, ding ding ding, we have Series 11, or Season 37 for us Uber geeks. Broadcast in 2018, this is Jodie Whittaker's first season, notable for introducing the first female incarnation of the Doctor. Ryan, Yaz, and Graham are the companions. This run features 10 episodes, including The Woman Who Fell to Earth, The Ghost Monument, Rosa, Arachnids in the UK, The Tsuranga Conundrum, Demons of the Punjab, Kerblam, The Witchfinders, It Takes You Away, and The Battle of Ranskoor of Kolos. Now I'm impressed I remember that one. A New Year's Day special called Resolution, broadcast soon after this initial run as well, featuring the return of the Daleks. Now both seasons were met with backlash following broadcast. Also both seasons came at a time where movies, and in particular TV shows, had noticeably much bigger budgets, and Doctor Who was struggling to keep the pace. Both these seasons have new doctors who were following other doctors who were less amenable and had falling ratings. Both seasons are marred with generic doctor characterization, underdeveloped and ineffectual companions, a light comical tone, and boring paper-thin plots. Right, I'm going to head into the finer detail now, referring to various things from both seasons and the seasons preceding them, so Series 10 and Season 23. So you'll probably need both seasons and possibly the preceding seasons clear in your mind, so if you can, go and watch them before you watch this video, then you might be able to appreciate a bit more what I'm banging on about. Now both series feature a comical, light-hearted feel. It's all child-friendly, there's nothing overtly scary or dark. These productions are clearly a reaction to the darker, more complex storylines of their respective previous seasons. Looking at Season 23, we got awesome horrific stuff like this.
Protect me! You killed Perry?
Goodbye, Doctor!
Meanwhile, in Season 24, we've got this.
Stay back!
Who are you?
Mel.
As you wish.
Why do fools fall in love?
Likewise, in Series 10, we got awesome dark shit like this.
Where are all the people? Stay away from the soup!
And in Series 11, by contrast, we have this.
Simshar of the Stenza.
Tim Shaw?
Call of Duty, man. I've trained for this. No! Where's the reload? Where's the reload?
Sheffield's sickest grime station. Yeah, talk about me, man. Hashtag problem.
Season 24 is very much a breakaway from previous happenings with limited references to the past. It's all to bring in new viewers, of course. Season 23, on the other hand, is very much orientated to the mega fan. It's a 14-part epic story set in a Gallifreyan court and has the return of the Master and introduces a new evil incarnation of the Doctor. It's timey-wimey and requires the viewer to watch all 14 episodes to get the most out of it. On the other hand, Season 24 has a new Doctor, new titles, self-contained individual stories. There are no Time Lords or Gallifrey, apart from the Rani, who is a Time Lord but it's not really mentioned. There's no other returning villains. A new companion is introduced at the end of the series. It's all really new, it's pushing new, and it's self-contained and it's easy viewing. You can jump on at this point. Similar to Season 23, Series 10 has a lot of self-referential content from the mega fans. Like even the first episode, the pilot, it kicks off with a shot of a jar of sonic screwdrivers, and also a picture of Susan and River are on his desk as well. Whoa. Then you got the return of the Mondasian Cybermen in the finale, and you've also got the Ice Warriors. Like Season 24, Series 11 has no real mention about Gallifrey or the Time Lords, has no returning villains. You could argue the Daleks, but they're in the New Year special, which isn't technically in Series 11. There are a few passing references, but nothing that will alienate the casual viewer or a newcomer. Like in the first episode, she mentions that she used to be a
White-haired Scotsman.
and also in Kerblam, she receives a fez in the post. Kicking off with Sylv, unlike his later seasons where he becomes dark, mysterious and manipulative, here we have to put up with a more funny, light-hearted interpretation of his Doctor, with him playing the spoons, hanging off cliffs, and slipping and sliding around ice caves. All the stories are fast-paced, so it doesn't give Sylv a lot of time to sort of stop and reflect on what's happening. And then due to the poor stories, villains, scripting and pacing, he's not really given the chance to flesh out the role. For me, Delta and the Bannermen is closest to what his interpretation will become, as he gets to play off Gavrok a little bit. You get to see him angry, but still he's playing off a one-note villain who thinks he's in a more edgy, grittier show. For the most part, he's likeable and quirky in this season. Still, some aspects of his performance may irritate viewers, like when he gets colloquial phrases wrong.
A bad workman always blames his fools.
Tools! Blames his tools!
No, Mel, two wrongs don't make a left turn.
And some of the line delivery, and also gurning whilst he's angry. As for Jodie, the 13th Doctor, like Sylv, she's given little time to reflect and think about what's going on, as the stories have very few calm moments. But she also has the additional problem of having to share screen time with 3 companions, which is a detriment to all the characterization, but it does affect her a lot, and also Yaz. But that's another story. She is forced to spout endless exposition.
The particle accelerator smashes the atoms together like a little antimatter factory to produce positrons.
3 days later.
Bringing positrons into existence to move other forms of life across space.
And made to sonic everything rather than use a noggin.
Second lady.
Oi, keep that up, I'll use you as a piñata.
Hurry up before the teammates come on the patrol.
Her character is always kept on the side of fun and eccentricity rather than having to face great threats and come up against dark storylines for her to bounce off. It's all a bit like Tom Baker in season 16 and season 17, where it's all a bit daft and not that serious and there's not much threat. She's inconsistent in character due to poor scripting, so we can't quite grasp who she is. For example, in Arachnids in the UK, she calls for the spiders to be treated humanely.
Whatever happened, there are living, breathing organisms out there and we treat them with dignity.
She then proceeds to lock them in a room for them to presumably starve or eat each other or suffocate to death. She's also very unhappy when Robertson decides to shoot the giant suffocating spider, even though that puts an end to its misery. Rather than having a long, slow death, it just has a quick, painless death. In one episode, she's against conspiracies.
Don't like bullies, don't like conspiracies, don't like people being in danger, and there's a flavour of all three here.
In another episode, she loves them.
I love a conspiracy.
In one episode, she's confident.
Oops. Shame. You just sent all your equipment to goodness knows where.
In another episode, she's not.
I'm just socially awkward. I'm still figuring myself out.
At the end of the Ghost Monument, when she gives up, when she doesn't see the TARDIS, she just suddenly goes,
I'm sorry. I failed you. I promised you and I let you down.
feels completely out of character for the Doctor as a character anyway. It's also very odd when she doesn't want that bloke to push Tim Shaw off the crane in the first episode, the woman who fell to Earth.
You had no right to do that.
But then happily kills the caretaker in Kerblam.
Charlie, last chance. Get out of there now.
Remember, if you want it, come blow it.
Another thing is when she sets out, I think it's in the Ghost Monument, that she's firmly against weapons.
No. Guns, never use them.
And then come the finale, she's going, well, I can use bombs.
A bomb.
What happened to never do weapons?
It's flexible, Creed.
She also suffers from clunky, funny dialogue that makes it sound like a fan film.
Thanks he doesn't have one of those. Or have I? The Woolly Rebellion. In 193 years, there's a total renegotiation of the sheep-human relationship. Utter bloodbath.
It seems they weren't sure on who this incarnation was or is. They made her as likeable and inoffensive as possible, really. Some aspects of her performance may irritate viewers, like the scrunched face, and also the overdramatic sonic arm. That's not to say there aren't glimpses of what her incarnation will become. Certainly a much more well-rounded character in Series 12. Like you have the chat with Ranskoor. The end of it takes you away. It's quite an emotional performance. She's good in Kerblam and the finale, despite whatever you think about it. In summary, ultimately, both Doctors give light-hearted, eccentric performances. They both have little time to flesh out their respective takes on the character. They are both underserved by poor scripts, and also parts of their performances have also irritated viewers as well. In season 24, we have the companion of Mel. Now, due to the timey-wimey nature of how she was introduced in the previous season, she never got an introductory story. She comes into this new season with a new Doctor, and the viewers don't know her at all. So we don't have that familiar anchor for the viewer to follow as we're introduced to a new Doctor. She's just kind of there. She's underdeveloped, she screams a lot.
We don't want you breaking your neck. At least not until...
And she supposedly has computer skills, but are nowhere to be seen. Fortunately for her, and for Bonnie Langford, the actress, she gets to come back in Big Finish and they bother to give her a backstory and a proper character, which is nice. But for now, we got nada. In Series 11, we get 3 companions. Graham, Ryan and Yaz, plus a new Doctor. Now that's a lot of characterization required there. Unfortunately, only Ryan and Graham get any development, as they both mourn the passing of Grace and come to terms with it. Plus they form a stronger bond between each other. They effectively get the arc for the series. Unfortunately, it's not done superbly, as Graham comes to terms with Grace's death in It Takes You Away, and then the next episode, in the finale, he then starts seeking vengeance for her death.
If that is the creature from Sheffield, I will kill it if I can.
Now that doesn't follow the 7 stages of grief. Oh, I almost forgot Yaz. Easy to do, as she does fuck all. She brings a lot of energy and a lot of questions, but little else, to be honest. She's underdeveloped, she has stupid lines and questions.
Oh, I did a bit of antimatter at school. Never quite understood it. So how does it work?
Despite being established as a police officer, displays none of the requisite skills. when they would be really useful in the plot, like in Arachnids in the UK, my favourite episode of Series 11. She's held at gunpoint in that episode, I think by Robertson or his goon, and she fails to disclose the information that she's a police officer, and she doesn't bother to help with the investigation of the plot either. Does this remind you of anyone? That's right. Mel and Yaz are kind of the same. In both series, the plots are generic, unoriginal, uncomplicated, and campy and silly, plus the sci-fi element is dulled down as well. Looking at season 24, Tom and the Rani kicks off that season and it's very fun and silly. It has an absolutely insane plot about getting all the greatest minds in the universe to try and make a gigantic brain, or planet of brain. Brain planet is mad. Paradise Towers has a potentially dark storyline with a dystopian tower block, cannibals and killer robots and stuff like that, but it becomes a pantomime and enters diabolical territory with the lead caretaker in episode 4. Go check out my review on that, in fact. Paradise Towers. In series 11, specifically in the Ghost Monument, you have generic elements like sniper bots and EMP. Yeah, we've never seen that in a sci-fi show, especially one that's been going 56 years. But also, like season 24, you have the dark element. So like in that episode, you've got the Stenza storyline of them getting this race to do horrible experiments. But then, in the same episode, you got that stupid Call of Duty moment with Ryan. Then you got silliness in Arachnids in the UK. You've got Chris Noth giving a bit like Paradise Towers, the chief caretaker. You've got a very exuberant performance there.
I was just attacked by a spider the size of a bathtub, and it's all her fault.
You've also got Stormzy being used to draw spiders into a room. That's silly. In both seasons, there's a distinct lack of memorable villains. Apart from maybe the Rani and the Reconnaissance Dalek. Apart from that, you've got the Kerblam Man, you've got Sim Shah. There's the Jarians, those are well-realised monsters, they look beautiful. And similarly, the Tetraps from Time in the Rani, they look good as well, they're decent. But otherwise, it's crap. Looking at season 24, what have we got? We got the Chief Caretaker, oh dear. We've got killer cleaning robots, the Bannermen, and Kane. Wizard. In series 11, what we got? We got the Remnants, flying toilet paper. We got Krasko, a grease reject. We got common house spiders, which are slightly larger. Then we got the Pating. The Pating. Ooh, another caretaker as well from Kerblam. It's another parallel between season 24 and series 11. We got the Morax, very boring, generic mud people. The Solitrat, who appeared as a frog in a chair, and that got a lot of backlash. And we've also got the Ux, just humans with great powers. As a result, there's little to no threat throughout. This kills the drama of any story or scene stone dead. There's no better example of this than in the Tsuranga Conundrum, when we're introduced to this scary Pating, and in the very next scene, Ryan and Yaz go off into a corridor and chat about Ryan's mum and home life. Yeah, they're really feeling the threat of this Pating that's going to eat the ship. Not. Right, this is a little category just to show a couple more parallels which are interesting. Now, both series feature an over-the-top guest star. Season 24 obviously has Richard Bryars playing the chief caretaker.
Now you and I will destroy them.
Whilst Series 11 has Chris Noth playing Jack Robertson in Arachnids in the UK.
What's wrong with you people? What is wrong with this country? Why don't you do what normal people do? Get a gun, shoot things like a civilized person.
Both series feature a good but underused comedian as well, and both their characters die in their respective episodes as well. Interesting. In season 24, in Delta and the Bannermen, we have Ken Dodd.
They're going back to 1959, the rock and roll years.
Oh, that's fantastic!
And in series 11, we have Lee Mack in Kerblam.
Morning, Les. How are the family?
Good morning, Daniel. My name is not Les, but I acknowledge your amusing co-worker banter.
Every morning. Hang on. I'll report it. Get you back to display.
I think these are the remnants of the missing workers. We're under a vast liquidization tank.
Behind the scenes share parallels as well. Back in season 24 we had Andrew Cartmel, who was script editor at the time, which was a much bigger deal back in that day. He was also a writer for that season. In series 11 we have Chris Chibnall, who was head writer and executive producer. Now both these chaps were keen to rehaul the brand, add mystery, add new writers, and take the show in a new direction, plus improve the visual effects. In the case of the latter, both seasons were actually praised for their improved special effects. In the case of season 24, even the title sequence alone, they spent millions on that. CGI was a new thing, so it was all very exciting. Then you got the Tetrap costumes, the bubble traps, again that's CGI. You also got Kane's face melting in Dragonfire, reminiscent of Indiana Jones, of course. In the case of Series 11, they had upgraded the equipment, so you got these new widescreen cameras, and then these very exotic locations going to South Africa. And also you had improved CGI visuals as well. Both seasons feature lackluster scripts, unfortunately. They feel like first drafts that haven't been vetted or streamlined. With season 24 behind the scenes, it eventually came out that John Nathan Turner planned to leave after season 23. But the Beeb renewed the show at short notice and forced him to stay on as producer, plus force out the lead actor, Paul Colin Baker, and then get a new one. At this point, John Nathan Turner has little time and budget to pump out a new season of Who, and it bloody shows. In the case of Series 11, the behind-the-scenes goss and dirt is yet to come out, but we do know that Stephen Moffat stayed on for Series 10 for the sake of the show, even though he'd planned to leave after Series 9, specifically after the Christmas special that year, The Husbands of River Song. This allowed Chris Chibnall more time on Broadchurch Season 3 and finishing up with that, before becoming showrunner of Doctor Who. There was still an 18-month gap between Series 10 and Series 11, even with Moffat's help. Chibnall then had to bring in a whole new production team, a new style and feel to the show, plus new lead actors and new writers. It's a hell of a task, to be fair, and I think it proved too much in the time frame for him. Chibnall ended up writing over half the episodes in 2018, amounting to 6.5 episodes, I think, because he co-wrote Rosa, that's the half. Having to do that and then run the show, plus all the associated responsibilities with that, plus all the external marketing, plus all the high expectations of the first female incarnation of the show, plus the pressure to succeed, is a tall order. Then again, Russell T Davies managed to do all of this, at the expense of having no free time. Apparently, that's what he said in a recent interview anyway. Whilst I sympathise with the difficult behind-the-scenes production problems, the quality of the writing undoubtedly suffered in both these seasons. And it's the writing that's allowed this show to survive and endure. We wouldn't be talking about this show if it didn't have its peaks like Genesis, Caves of Androzani, Blink, Army of Ghosts, and Doomsday. And it's safe to say that even in those classics, there are some ropey graphics, some ropey effects, like the clan in Genesis, or the monster in the caves and Caves of Androzani, or even the CGI effect of the Daleks flying out the Genesis Ark in the sky. They look a bit ropey now, don't they? But we look past these small misdemeanors because the stories are so good. Both Season 24 and Series 11 show style over substance. They show nicer visual effects over engaging writing. In terms of effects, it will never hope to compare with the much better funded American movies and TV shows. So why bother to try and aim for that? At the end of the day, it's our pokey little quirky sci-fi show that thrives on creativity, characterization, and working against a tight budget. Don't try and make it something it's not. Season 24 and Series 11 ultimately both fail if you boil it down. The characterization of the leads, the plots, the themes, the tone, and the scripts, because of the writing. And that's where the efforts should have been focused. Well, I hope you enjoyed that long video and you got to the end. Thank you if you got here. As always, don't forget to like and comment on the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Also, you can click on that bell for notifications of new content. You can also follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @WhoTimeUK. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.